Welcome back to DIY guitar making. I just finished thicknessing a bunch of backs and tops here, along with prepping a whole bunch of other parts for the hands-on workshops that are starting very soon. And I thought it'd be cool to do a quick video just talking about tapping. You know, tapping on the plates when you're thicknessing them to determine when you stop. It's funny because tapping is the simplest, most intuitive thing in the world, but it's also, for a lot of people, the most ambiguous, nebulous, vague, I don't know how many different words I can use to describe the same thing. It's the most vague thing within lutherie, it seems. And I'm not going to talk about, only because it's way more complex, I'm not going to talk about the real voicing that goes on when you have the braces attached, you're carving the braces, and you're tapping at that point. That's like true voicing. But there's really two times in the guitar building process that I tap. There's this early stage where I'm just trying to get myself a good, nice, resonant, brittle sounding piece of wood to start with. It makes good sense that all your individual parts, before they start to get assembled together, are musical pieces of wood. Okay? Using terms like musical, again, is kind of ambiguous, but really the best term I've ever seen come out for this is something called cue. That's actually a scientific term for what we're talking about. But what it is essentially a chiminess rather than a thuddiness of the sound. To put it in the simplest layman terms. Thud is bad, chime is good. So let's check out one of these tops here. The top is far more important than the back. Most of the time I don't even really tap the back. I just shoot for something like 110 thousandths of an inch is usually what I go for. It varies a little bit on the species of wood, but 110 thousandths of an inch is a good starting point for a back plate. Again, really tapping it to find the optimal spot. Less important on the back, although, you know, one could argue everything's important. But the top is definitely important because that is your soundboard. It is directly coupled to the bridge and the strings, whereas the back is indirectly coupled via the air cavity. Okay? I have no idea what you guys hear through my GoPro camera. I doubt you get a good grasp of the liveness of this top. Again, just another descriptive word for brittle and chimey is lively. Okay? It has a liveness to it, which simply means it resonates a lot. Yeah, that sounds great. Here, I'll give you an idea. Let's pull out the back that goes with this. Oh, by the way, this top is probably about, I could get calipers out and check it, but it's probably about 120 thousandths of an inch. With tops, the optimal spot really is much more particular to the individual top itself, more so than, like I mentioned, with the backs. So again, I tap more, I listen more with the tops. Now the back, being a hardwood, is just naturally going to, especially on the camera, sound less live than a softwood spruce top. This is East Indian rosewood. Here, actually, this is a pretty live example. This is Madagascar rosewood. Anyway, I could go ahead and keep doing this. You probably don't want me to. Well, actually, I do want to show you guys one more. I have here ones that I haven't thicknessed yet, so they're overly thick. Great example of thuddiness. Sometimes even when they're overly thick, like say when you're checking them out at a local supplier to see if you want to buy them to work with that piece of wood, you can still get an idea of the liveness or the brittle nature of that wood by tapping it and just keeping in, you know, your brain will sort of do the calculation in your head to say, oh, this is exceptionally thick right now. I'd imagine it would sound very good when you thin it out. So you can still get an idea for the Q, that's that scientific term I mentioned earlier, for the Q of the wood before you thickness it. Here's an overly thick top. And this one sounds, for spruce, for what it is, this sounds very dead. But again, it's overly thick. That's just the kind of weird stuff that I do around here. All right, well, with that said, bye for now. Lastly, I just want to say as a tip for people who are starting out with this, if this seems like a bit of a black art to you, my recommendation is to ignore, to not even tap hardwoods. Okay, so again, that's your backs, which again are less important, so that's another reason not to tap them. But also, there's just less of a difference in a lot of cases between one back to another. If you really want to more easily hear a difference, just work with softwoods, your soundboard woods, spruces, cedars, redwood, stuff like that. You can really hear the difference as you thin it out with those woods. And you can hear the difference from one individual piece compared to another. Okay, so that's just a recommendation. You know, if you're sitting there tapping different pieces of East Indian rosewood, I can totally see how that can disillusion you to the whole concept. All right, now let's see what this set of tuners is going to sound like.
If you learned something here, please give this video a like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new DIY guitar making video. And if you want to really learn more, take one of my structured online courses at ericschaferguitars.com or register for a hands-on guitar building workshop here with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania.